Hi, and welcome to my sewing video. This is the fourth one I've made this year. So I was doing the challenges for the Facebook group 52 Weeks Sewing Challenge 2021. And the challenge for week number 15 was to sew something animal themed. And it could have been an animal costume or a stuffed animal, but didn't want to do that. But then I ended up going with an animal themed fabric because that's what I happen to have. So what I made was this. It's a tablet stand. I found it, I was Googling, and it was a blog post, and I'll put the link down below. So you start with drawing a template for this piece, and there are very good instructions in there. Was it a video or a blog? Whatever, whichever. So I used this fabric with little tortoises, and that's why it's animal themed, right? So it's a tablet stand, if you didn't notice, or you could use it for reading. Let's see if I can get a book in there. Oops. Like this. I haven't used it for reading. I have my tablet on it. I usually I do have a tablet like flip cover, but this is sturdier, easier to use. So I was thinking that I may use it for reading, because I can use my tablet with a flip cover, but if I want to knit and read, then I don't have anything to put the book, like a stand for the book. But so far I've used it with the tablet. So yeah, you cut the piece out of a fabric after you've drawn it, and there are certain lines that you draw that you use afterwards for instructions on where to sew. And I have a pen that is heat, what's the word, disappears when you iron it. Bought it online, but there are the sort of pens that when you iron it, you make the lines disappear. So anyway, you started. There's a little bit of a interfacing in here. I used the iron-on interfacing here, and then you sew this line, and you stuffed. You'd sewn this seam almost to the top, and then you stuffed it with, I have rice in here, and then just the top part is soft, so it's a sort of a stuffing, the fluffy thing for stuffing here in the top, probably because it sort of seals. It'll be difficult to make the last seam if you have rice pouring out of the thing. I don't know. I assume that's why. And this is for if you want to use your electrical wire through this. If you have your phone, which I'm using to record, if you have your phone in here and you're charging it, you can have it upside down so that the charger will be on the top of the phone, and be able to put the cord through this loop. This one is a little long for that, but you know, it's more of a decorative thing for me. And then this is just soft stuffing in here, and it helps keep the whatever you have against this stand on its place. Very handy, and you'll find the link to the instructions or the video, whichever it was that I used, down below in that description bar. And the next challenge for week number 16 was to make something inspired by a character. And this was the first week that I just decided to reject the challenge, because I didn't have any fabric with characters. I didn't want to go to the store and buy anything, and I didn't want to make a costume, because that would have been one of the possibilities, but I don't need costumes, and my kids didn't need costumes, so I decided to reject the challenge, but I did sew something for week 16. A few weeks earlier, somebody had posted a picture of a collapsible thread catcher in the Facebook group. And I Googled it, of course, and I found that I need it. I didn't know I needed it, but I do. So this is what it looks like. This is what I made. The same fabric that I used for the tablet stand. And the idea is, of course, that this is very lightweight, and you can put your thread in it. As you can see, I used it here on the couch when I sew, and I weave in the ends, and I put on all the ends in here, because I use a bigger glass jar when I sew, because you know, it'll be easier. I can put some waste fabric stuff in there. This is a bit too small for that, but the trick of this thing is that when you have the threads inside on the bottom of the container, you can seal it in like this, and they're there, but you can't see them. This was in a video tutorial that I've linked down below. As you can see, this is some sort of a flannel. It is a little too thick, so I would recommend, and maybe the person on the video recommended to use some sort of a cotton fabric. It can't be too can't have too much drape, because it has to stand up like this. Because if it has too much drape, you'll just collapse on its own, and that's not the idea. But I've made two. This is the first version. All but one of the ingredients in here are something that I already had at home. So there's the fabric. The bottom is just some carton from a muesli package, and then there's the ring, and the ring inside here is what I had to go and buy from the store. So this is from a Pringles tube. Oh, the sacrifices we make for crafting. I didn't have a Pringles tube, so I had to go and get some. But I left the rim of the tube here, and the lady on the video said that you might want to cut it out but I didn't have a good, like a carpet knife. I used a regular kitchen knife and it wasn't very handy. So I was like, oh no, I'm just gonna leave the ring in. I shouldn't have done that. Or if I had been smarter, I would have made this higher, because if you compare these two, well, it's actually not that much higher, but you can see that the ring on my version 2.0 is narrower than this one. I'll explain it. So anyway, so I bought the Pringles tube and I cut it out. I should have cut out the rim, but I didn't. And then she instructed to use some sort of a plastic to make the ring sturdier. In the States they have milk containers or something, we have milk cartons, so no, I didn't use that, but I had white vinegar bottle, a plastic one, so I cut it out, or cut a strip of the bottle out, and I fit it inside this ring to make it sturdier. For this version I did use hot glue like she instructed on the video. It was kind of fiddly, but I happened to have the hot glue gun on the table at the time I was making this, so it was okay. And then I had cut out a piece of the fabric, and I used the Pringles ring to draw circles out of the muesli package, and then I have a little bit of interfacing, not the iron-on stuff, but just the sort of fluffy stuff that you can use for quilting. So I have that in here, and also inside on both sides of the bottom. And then you make this seam, start with the fabric, and you sew the seam up, and then I made the bottoms as instructed on the video. But the reason why I decided to make another one is that because this is a little bit of a thicker fabric, and because I made this ring a little too wide, I used the measurements on her video, and this version won't collapse totally, wholly, completely, as you can see, because there is not enough fabric to twist. But it works like this, you just can't close it. So that's why I made the next version, version 2.0, where this ring is narrower. I have the plastic strip inside. I just didn't hot glue it in. I actually used a bit of a Scotch tape, and then of course once you make a stitch in here that you probably can't see, it locks the circles in, so it doesn't even have to be like glued together. And there is enough fabric for the collapse thing. Because this is a little thicker, it sort of requires a bit more force. Well, not a lot, but you know, it's not as easy as with a little bit of a lighter weight, thinner fabric. But the second version works, and I have both of them on my arm rest here on the couch so that I can use them when I knit and weave in the ends. The challenge for week 17 was to sew a wardrobe staple. On that week I was really busy knitting my mother-in-law's shawl, so I decided to skip that week. There is a makeup thread in the Ravelry Facebook group, and I'll make something in there when I have time. But for week 18 I was back on board, and the challenge was to sew your favorite thing. And I gotta say that my favorite thing to sew is just t-shirts. They're very easy, well, straightforward, and I made quite a few, so I know what I don't have to look at the instructions too much, and I know what I like, and it's just a matter of finding a nice pattern that fits my physique. So for that week I tried a pattern that I've had on my computer for quite a while. It's called Odette t-shirt, because it's on a Belgian site, La Maison Victor, which is a sewing magazine, and since the site is .be, I guess it's a Belgian sewing magazine. The magazine, I guess, is in French. I've never seen it. The site is in Flemish, like Dutch, a variant of Dutch or something. But because the sites work in certain ways, there's the yes and no buttons and etc. I was able to get on the site, even though I don't speak Flemish, I don't speak Dutch, and I don't even speak German, which is pretty like a close relative to Dutch and would help you to understand if you knew German, which I don't. Oh, I know German, but I've never studied German. I've learned something from TV, but I haven't been watching a lot of sewing programs in German. So, well, yeah. So I don't know German, but you have to, or you need to register on the site, and that's easy because you have your last name, your first name, etc., etc. It wasn't too difficult to fill in the form to register, and then you had access to the Odette pattern, which is in French. So I know French, and I was able to make the shirt. I have heard about the pattern either in a YouTube channel, or on a YouTube channel called Boudoir de Lauriane Boudoir. I'll put a link down below. She, I think, has sewn it, and then I guess, well, possibly other French-speaking people too, but I'm pretty sure about Lauriane that she's made one. I'll have some video of me wearing the t-shirt rolling on top of my face right now, I hope. So this is a free pattern. You just have to register on the site, and it has sizes from 30 to 48, so somewhat a range. It's a bust size 72 to 116, so there is quite a bit of range, but of course not very big sizes. 48 is not very big. It's a little bigger than me, but anyway, but there are quite a bit of say smaller sizes. I might make one for my daughter one of these days. The seam allowances are not included in the pattern, which is a thing for some people, not for me, and I found it very simple to sew. When I was choosing my size, my measurements for my bust size, I was between sizes 42 and 44. My waist was size 46 and my hips were size 40. And the pieces are pretty straight. So I decided to try the size 42, and I think it worked out okay. It's not too loose on me, in my opinion, but it's not too tight either. I might even, try and take it in certain places, but I'm pretty happy with the version I made, which is here on a hanger. So I chose this blue t-shirt fabric that I had in my stash. I've bought this from poppanavakka.fi. It's a Finnish fabric company. I made some stitches here. I think that was not in the pattern, but I preferred to do that. And then of course the thing is the sort of sleeves, which are not actually sleeves, they're just a similar kind of band as in the neckline. Here it's just wider so that you can fold it over and make a feature of it. If you use different colors of fabric, this might be a very fun way to, bring a little bit more in your t-shirt, to use sort of a contrast in the sleeves, maybe even in the neckline, at least in the sleeves. But yeah, it's a pretty straight piece. The hem, as you can see, is high in the front and curved in the back, which, as you know, if you've seen my videos before, I'm not a fan of doing the curved hem, but I'm learning. I use the technique where you make straight stitches, sort of the two straight, I'll put a video link. So here, so I used that technique when I was doing the curved hem. I only did it in the back. This one I just folded like hemmed normally. Yeah, that was a pretty straightforward thing to sew, and I'm happy with the outcome. Pretty blue, but it's okay. It was just something I had. And I do intend to make this again. Actually, this is something that it's sort of a trial version. I'm expecting to use another fabric, something that's a little bit more precious than this one. So I wanted to make sure that I have the right size, and now I'm happy with this one, and when I get the other fabric I'll use the same pieces. The pattern was a PDF file where you have a different sort of lines, dotted lines, and different dotted lines to separate between the different sizes. But and yeah, I just printed it in A4, sort of normal A4 pages, and then scotch taped it together, and then I traced it on some baking sheet, because that's what I like to use. I don't like to use printing paper because it's sturdier and it's thicker, I prefer to use a little bit thinner paper when I'm for the templates or whatever they're called. The challenge for week number 14 was to face your sewing fears. And well, I don't know if I have sewing fears really. I mean, I have sewn different things, but there are just things that are a little bit trickier, and I tend not to gravitate towards them. I tend to gravitate away from them, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so this time I decided, okay, I'm just gonna make a blouse, because t-shirts are easy with a stretchy fabric, but if you're making a blouse and you use fabric that's not stretchy, then yeah, you need to know certain things, then you need to be careful with certain things. And so I went and browsed my computer and to see which patterns I had there. And I found the Fara Blouse Fara, which is a pattern by Sophie de Nice, and I have bought it from the site makers.fr, and I think it's available in French and in German. I have the French version. At the moment it costs €3 on makers.fr, and Sophie de Nice has a site of her own, or their own, whatever. I think Sophie is the name of a lady, but €3. So it's a very, very affordable pattern, even though not fully free of charge. It's a PDF file. And so I have, my version is from the site makers.fr, and I think I bought it when it was in discount. I think I only paid €1.50 for it, but you know, 150 or 3, that's not a lot anyway. It comes in a variation of sizes from size 32 to size 56, so quite a bit of a range. And it also comes in 3 different heights. It's a 160, 168 and 176 centimeters. So 160, 168 and 176 centimeters height. I'll put it on the screen what that is in inches and all that, feet, because I never remember. We don't use that. I made 168 centimeters tall person's size. I'm a 165, so 3 centimeters shorter than that. And mine was okay. The PDF file has the possibility to print only one size. So there are these sort of layers or something that you can click on and off. So what I did was I only printed my size, but if you're sort of between 2 sizes, you could leave 2 different sizes and print them together, and then maybe fudge when you're cutting out your templates or drawing your templates. So that's very, very handy, because especially with this number of sizes, if you have all of the lines on the pages, it'll be really, really confusing. But in this PDF file, you can click the other sizes off, and you'll only print the one you need, or the ones you need. Very, very handy. And the seam allowances are included in the pattern. And yeah, I'll put some video of myself showing my blouse to you. When I was choosing The size again, some problem with that. My bust size was between sizes 44 and 46. My waist was size 46 and my hips were size 44. And when I looked at the pieces, I decided that it doesn't mean that my waist is bigger than my bust size, because the pieces are pretty straight. Well, maybe a little, yeah, there's some shaping, waist shaping, but not too much. So I decided to make size 44, and I think that was a good choice. It fits me nicely. And here's my blouse on the hanger. My fabric was super slippery, and I had forgot that I used a little bit of it in a project bag. I used it for a lining for a project bag, and when I was making that, I was really agonizing because it's so slippery when you're cutting it. It's difficult with your scissors. It's not easy to sew either. So really not enjoyable fabric to sew. It irons out nicely, but it also wrinkles really easily. So not a great fabric in that sense, but it's very pretty. I love the butterflies. The pattern itself, so it has darts in here. That's one of those little things that you have to consider when you're making it. I think I showed it on the video. I think they are sort of in their right places for me. But all in all, it's not very difficult to sew at all. So you start with the darts. Because my fabric was very easily would rip. Undo these edges. I went around and used some stitching to make sure that it doesn't frail. But so it has this underpiece. I should know what it's called, but I don't remember. It's called parmenture in French, and I have interface or used the not interfacing, is it? Whatever, the fabric that makes it harder. So I used it, and I have understitched it. Yeah, you can see it there, the stitching. So there's no stitching here on the top, no top stitching in the neckline, but there is stitching here in the sort of lower back piece, whatever it is, and that holds it down like this. And it was a very successful sew in that respect. In my opinion, for me, the neckline is just a little too low. I mean, it's nice. It's all right in a knit fabric like this. This is the t-shirt that I knit. Actually, this one is a bit lower, and with this kind of fabric, I do feel a little uneasy with it. So since this is a really nice pattern, I guess I'll try and sew it another time, but I will cut out the neckline just a little bit higher, because well, it's okay in a sort of the kind of occasions where I would wear a shirt like this. So in some parties where you're supposed to act very like calmly and collected and all that. But at work, no way. And even sort of on my free time when I wouldn't wear a shirt like this because it's way too fancy for stuff that I do in my free time. But yeah, so the neckline is a little bit too open to my taste, and I'll do it differently next time. But all in all, it was a nice thing. It was a nice blouse to sew. The hemming, as you can see, again another curved hem, and yes, it was a pain in the neck to make. I made quite a bit. Well, as you can see, it's not even inside. But who's gonna watch? Who's gonna see that? Yeah. Oh, it's quite a painful thing to try and do that. But since this fabric was very good to iron, yes, it helped with the hemming. But I used the same technique that I use with the t-shirt, so the same video tutorial applies for this hemming too. But yeah, it's a very, very pretty blouse, and the instructions were not, how could I say, not enormously detailed. I think it was only in one page, but as I said, like I said, it's not a difficult, maybe 2 pages. Anyway, it's not a difficult blouse to sew. You just gotta be sort of careful in certain places. So yeah, I liked it. It was okay. The last small thing that I'm gonna show you is something that I sewed the other day or maybe a week ago or so for my daughter, just a little bit of something. Another pair of underpants. Actually, I made 3, but the third pants are in the wash right now. But these are the same. The same pattern that I've used before. It's from a Finnish sewing magazine, Suuri Käsityö. I think it's the last issue of 2019. And this is just a great way to use your scraps. So I used this fabric once to make a t-shirt for myself. The black also is something that I've had in my stash, and I have just like little bits and pieces of these fabrics in my stash, and I just don't like to throw anything away. I mean, this is one of the pieces, so it doesn't take a lot to have enough for the front piece of these pants. So I think they're a great way to use your scraps. And well, actually, I've run out of this stretchy lace and this stretchy lace, so before I can make some more, I'll have to go and buy some elastic bands, because I think I've already used all of this too. But yeah, just, remember, you can always make some underpants. These were all the sewings I had to show you this time. I hope you got some ideas. Maybe if you have any kind of questions or comments, don't hesitate to leave them down below in the comments section. And of course, if you haven't already, you can always subscribe. I'll see you in a few weeks, I think. Bye.